Distinguished guests, dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning to this first morning session of today. It's my big pleasure and honor to welcome you to this very relevant and highly sophisticated panel discussion that we will have on the topic of digitalization and AI, impacts and implications. My name is Michael Sinkanel. I'm the moderator today. I'm the director of the Vienna-based Austrian Institute for European and Security Policy. We're one of the leading think tanks in Austria focusing on security, European and defense policy, advise Austrian stakeholders in that manner. And in addition to that, I personally also focus on the implications of new technologies in the sphere of security. So you know already by now that I'm not an applied expert in the field, but I can assure you that we have excellent speakers with us today. And already during yesterday's opening session and opening ceremony, the president of the Republic of Kazakhstan was referring to the topic of AI, mentioned its importance. Also, the Director General of the OSCE has made some reference points to the topic of AI, in particular about promises and pitfalls in the field of artificial intelligence with regards to disinformation, with regards to new security threats and challenges, also calling for values and ethics in that framework. And when I personally prepared for today's session, I was contemplating on how to start best. And I came to the conclusion that we cannot only talk about artificial intelligence, maybe we should also ask artificial intelligence about artificial intelligence. So what I did is I asked various chatbots the following question. Imagine you're moderating a high-level panel discussion in Kazakhstan on the topic of AI and digitalization, impacts and implications. Please define what AI means to you during an opening statement. And this is the answer that I got that I'd like to share with you. The answer was, AI refers to the ability of machines to perform cognitive tasks that are typically associated with humans, such as reasoning, learning, decision-making, natural language processing. And AI systems are designed to analyze vast amounts of data. This technology has potentials in revolutionizing many fields of our lives, of our work, and also the way we live. However, AI also raises important ethical, legal, and social issues, and therefore it's essential to consider these challenges as we continue on developing and deploying AI. And then I thought, that's quite interesting, my job is done. I can lean back and refer only to the artificial program that I asked. But I was a bit curious and I continued with a follow-up question. And I said, look, what is your opinion? Shall we regulate and restrict artificial intelligence? Also because you mentioned these issues, these challenges. And shall we restrict AI even if that means that your own abilities would be limited? And then a very important, probably even more important answer arose. And it said, as an AI language module, I do not have a personal opinion. I do not have the abilities or desires to raise my personal opinions, as I'm a machine. And I thought that's quite self-reflective of the AI to admit that. However, continued, but I can provide you with objective perspectives of the importance of limiting potential AI systems for ethical and legal issues. And then it continued with a very long paragraph that I won't go into detail, but I found it also very interesting and important to also here point out that it claimed to be objective. And this is also one of the issues that I'd like to raise today, which brings me right into the topic of today's panel discussion. And with no further ado, I have the great honor to introduce to all of you our panelists for today, starting with His Excellency Baghdad Muhsin, the Minister for Digital Development, Innovations and Aerospace Industry. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you in particular for your ministry also for co-hosting this session this morning. During his career, Mr. Musin worked as an IT entrepreneur in the IT startup scene, so you combine perfectly the private and the public issues that are related with AI as you combine both perspectives. Our second speaker is Arkadian Dobkin, CEO, President, and Chairman of the board at EPAM Systems, a leading digital transformation service and product engineering company founded in 1993, so you're celebrating your 30th anniversary. Congratulations. Mr. Dobkin is a well-known pioneer in the software and IT industry and has been a vital contributor also to opening software talent pools in Central and Eastern Europe. Thank you very much. Then we are joined by Alexander Szukarewski. I hope I pronounced that name. Szukarewski. Senior partner and global leader of Quantum Black, AI by McKinsey, one of the leading AI applications by McKinsey with over 1,500 employees in that field, making you, I think, the largest in your sector. He oversaw Quantum Black's expansion. He is also a recognized leader in applied artificial intelligence, focused on scaling the use of AI. And he's also responsible for redefining business modules, boosting productivity through responsible use of AI. And this is certainly a topic that we will go in depth into a bit later, the responsible aspects of AI. Our fourth speaker is Michelle Simmons, President of Central Europe and Central Asia at Microsoft. Thank you very much for being with us. Michelle Simmons has been with Microsoft for over 20 years. She was a former leader of Microsoft marketing and operations functions for all Central and Eastern European countries. And I'm very interested also to hearing from you Microsoft's recent announcements on new AI products in the field. Thank you for being with us. Then we have Olga Shkohorodova, Google's head of Central Asia, Caucasus region, Russia, and Moldova in government affairs and public policy emerging markets team. Thank you very much. Olga has extensive experience in governmental affairs, in strategy advising. She has worked previously in the private sector, in international organizations with think tanks and NGOs, and is also, of course, an expert in the field of applied AI. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Dos, founder and CEO of Goat Chat AI, an exhilarating startup in Kazakhstan, but this is not only the only startup, if I remember correctly, you're also the founder and CEO of Adapt startup. Basically, you're designing mobile apps for small businesses to launch professional online stores through your phone. And the app then predicts and provides entrepreneurs with recommendations and suggestions for decision making. I'm very excited to also hear more on your company. But we will start with His Excellency, Mr. Musin, and I would like to ask you for your perspectives and potentials for the artificial intelligence sphere and ecosystem, especially also with regards to the artificial and digital sector in Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Mikhail. First of all, I want to welcome all of you to these days. It's really amazing that the Astana International Forum came up with a wider agenda, and the digitalization, it's only one part of this big forum. And yesterday there was a council of foreign investors, and President met with the foreign investors, and then they also discussed the digital transformation of economy and what we should do, and how we should do, and if to come where we are in the digital landscape. As a Kazakhstan, let me start from this. We are as a Kazakhstan, providing almost all public services by government bodies through online, through smartphones, through desktops, and just a few examples. You can buy and sell a vehicle, from person to person in 5 minutes, and it's already it will be registered in databases, and you will have the technical document that is you are new owner of the vehicle, digitally. In Kazakhstan, you are free to not to carry with you, original documents, paper ones. The identification documents, driver license, any kind of social documents, etc. You are free not to carry with you, and it's legalized. It have a legal status, and it has. Myself, in Kazakhstan, I'm not having in my hand any wallets, just the mobile. And it's not just, that because of I'm a minister. Ask any Kazakhstani people. They are not carrying with them original paper documents and banking cards and etc. And we have 82% of cashless. In the economy, 82%. It's a really tremendous figure. And but in 5 years ago, it was about a 20 or 25%. We did a really, leapfrog. And but if to come to AI, during the pandemic, AI solutions helped us to, to identify people who need support. If to start, about the healthcare system, we tried to give a floor to startups, and they really helped us to identify the lung cancer, lung or chest cancer, or the strokes, and it gave us opportunity to see how startups can disrupt healthcare system. And my point of view that the OpenAI now came with the framework that gives opportunity to all startups to come with with their ideas, talented one, and come with with the data they need, and that's it. And you are there. You are already, doing your startup. And but 10 years ago, if you just started to, you wanted to, join this game, you need to, to work and to do a tremendous work. But nowadays, you just, logging in, and you are just, grabbing the information from somewhere, and you are giving your idea to your computer. And what I mean, as a government, how we support the AI game. I think that all the governments who are thinking about the strategies, about the, the documents, I don't know, the 100 paper documents, it's okay. We are also thinking, and we will come to this flow, till the end of the year, we'll come with a strategy. But at the end of the day, let's see what you need really for AI, from the government perspective. You need a proper data. If you don't have a proper data, properly structured, collected well, you are nothing in this world. And that's why, if to ask to, as a Kazakhstan, what we have now, we have 400 databases. And we are trying to collect them, to combine them into one data lake. 80 main databases are already collected into one data lake. And now we can predict. It's not about a prediction for now. It's about analyzing the data. And we are analyzing the data and what we get as a final point. For example, 600,000 people in Kazakhstan applied to have apartments from the government. They applied 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know. But we come with this data lake, put there all these 600,000 queues, and what we discovered, 500,000 of them, they don't need anymore apartments because they have a flat. But we discovered that another 400,000, they need a support from the government. I mean, we are moving to the proactive way of providing the public services. How we are doing it? We know the family, each family's well-being, I mean, analyzing this data. 80 criteria is there. If they have a flat, if they have a vehicle, if they have some disabled people in their families, etc., we know everything about our people. But now it's anonymized. I mean, we are not giving any permission to enter to that data for someone. It's just a black box, but it's a giving that this person needs support from the government, these type of supports. And already 60,000 SMS we send it to the people that didn't apply for the support, but we send them SMS that you are able to apply to support, just click this button. And this is a proactive way how the AI helped. I mean, and in the future, I think that it will predict something. And we are doing our homework. We are collecting the data. We are properly structuring the data, and what we are doing it for. We are trying to understand how we will provide it through open API, and to the startups to access that data, and to gather it, to work on it, and to come up with the ideas how the startups, young startups, can help government to overcome the obstacles. And, but we are, working on anonymizing. If we will, anonymize all this data lake. Anonymizing, it's a word just like if you cannot identify people when you are analyzing the data, that this is a concrete, this is a Baghdad. If you're not able to identify, it's anonymized data. And we are anonymizing the names, surnames, identification numbers, etc. And we are trying to find a way how we can give this data, healthcare, education, etc., to the young startups to come with their ideas, how they can move on, how can they start, their entrepreneurial, activity, or how can they help, how can they support the government. And this is the first thing. Second thing is about a legal framework. We are working on a legal framework, how to do it. I described the technical stuff, but we are working to describe in a legal framework this stuff, what I meant. And third thing is about talents. We are here with the reskilling and upskilling programs. Last year, we introduced the Tekorda, vouchering program. What it is? It's not a university program. We are providing vouchers to young entrepreneurs, or to young people, or to not young people, to the people of Kazakhstan who want to reskill and who want to get who jump into the IT sphere. And just in 1 year, if some person get this voucher, he's able to enter to the private IT schools and get some IT skill from there. And government, as a government body, we will pay after to the private school for reskilling this concrete person. And this reskilling program, it's we gave last year 3,000 vouchers, and we will provide more and more, because the universities are doing well maybe, but I don't think that they are really helpful in this journey. Because we need someone from the areas, from the fields, from other fields, other industries, to come with their ideas, to get the skill, how they can, I don't know, the code in the Python, how can they join to this AI journey, come up with their ideas, and join to this game. Mm-hmm. And this is the talent management thing, what we do as a government. And
and we have also one young startup person from Kazakhstan with us, and I'm sure that he will also be able to give his perspective from that specific private sector into challenges, obstacles, but also the potentials that the government prepares.
As Mikael mentioned, I was an entrepreneur, and I know how it's important to join the public and private. And this is very important. And I think that also the one thing that I didn't mention, one more thing, it's about computing power. I mean, we are all aware about that. What kind of computer power needed to, this AI to jump into the AI journey, and that thing I'm ready to discuss how we can build shared computing power in Kazakhstan, and give it also for free to young startups to use it to come up with their ideas and to use this computing power. And these are 4 things that I wanted to mention, and we are here as a government to support. We are not, doing everything by ourselves. We are providing to the private companies to come up with their ideas, and we're trying to collaborate with them. And that's why I think that, it's just a starting point for Kazakhstan for this journey, but we are doing, at least we've done not bad our homework. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister Musin. Moving from Kazakhstan probably to a more general, to the more global sphere, I have a concrete question, introductory question also for you, Arkady Dobkin. As a pioneer in the sector, what would you identify as the most significant technological developments in transforming digitalization and AI in the last 30 years? What would be your main takeaways looking into the past, but from that also an outlook probably briefly into the future potentials?
Yeah, it's an interesting question.
The microphone.
It is an interesting question because we live in the world where information generated in so fast and in so massively that it's difficult to understand what's happening. Like 30 years, it's an interesting period when you're looking back, and being in software for a long time, I heard 30 years ago that tomorrow something will happen and it would be another tools, and programs will start to be generated. And then 20 years ago, it was repeated again in new type of languages, which was 100 times more productivity higher than previous. And now with these languages, we will solve all problems. And I do remember probably 15 years ago, I was talking to our client, and it was executive vice president of platform engineering of company called SIP, which is a major enterprise software. And he told me, Arkady, probably we will work with you for another 6-9 months, but now we put in such excellent object model, we will generate code, and probably your software services company will be out of business. He not working for SIP for a long time already. We probably grew, I don't know, like 15 times since then. And then it's repeated. And I heard it many times, but at the same time, if it didn't happen in the past, it didn't mean that it's not going to happen still in the future. And right now, with advances which happening in technology, it's very interesting to see because it's very, very different. At the same time, if we think about any technology waves which happen, and I'll try to finish in 2 minutes. Like if you think when web application become available for everybody, and those who at least remember what it was in end of 90s, beginning of 2000s, some startups were coming and building relatively simple things, but it was amazingly great, something completely new open. Approximately like 6 months ago when we started all chatted with ChatGPT, it was miracle. So internet happened, you can see something, you can read articles online. And everybody was thinking that this is very advanced. And then Amazon come up with a bookstore, and it was amazing, you can buy books. And then think the progress of this to AWS, ecosystem, platform, bookstore, and the whole ecosystem with supply chain, with delivering anything and everything. And then smartphones happen 10, 15 years later, and again, very simple ideas, a lot of startups doing like special UI for phones, and this was very advanced. And then everybody forget because ecosystem built up completely differently than we were assuming when the first time got smartphone, because it was just easy kind of browser in the pocket first. And then AI right now. Everybody chatting, everybody trying to ask questions, direct, thinking about smart prompting. Now, think about bookstore and what's happened today with the whole cloud and data ecosystem. From these applications, which looks like very simple, we'll need to integrate all these foundational LLMs, private LLMs, support them, interaction. So I cannot imagine what will be here like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But supported, like Baghdad said, you need like to collect data, you need like to reshuffle this, you need to do a lot of things. When I'm thinking how it's impact an implication, for example, for a company like us, my simple answer will be, I don't know. Need to see, need to adapt. We'll see how profession will change, but it's a lot of very interesting work. But there is a Microsoft, Google, McKinsey, startups here, so thank you.
And it's reassuring and comforting for me personally also if you're saying that you also don't know the answers, what will happen in the future. I think probably for all of us, because then we don't have to feel that we don't know them if a pioneer like yourself also admits that you don't know what will happen in the future and how this transformation will look like. Yeah.
You have to continue working.
Yeah. Alexander, from your perspective, from your experience from Quantum Black, I was thinking moving now also to concrete examples of the private sector, of leading companies here. What is the potentials for businesses and the private sector in the transformation processes that you're implementing and introducing also through AI?
I agree that basically it's almost mission impossible to predict the future, and probably we're going to fail. But we could speak about what we see now today. And while in November everybody got excited about generative AI and ChatGPT, I want to remind everybody a very simple magic number of 11%. And while we operate in 50 countries, it doesn't matter what country, company, sector you take, only 11% of use cases in AI so far moved into production, meaning only 1 out of 10 becomes real. Everything else is fluff and kind of we entertain ourselves in the boardroom, we're proud from pilots, but it's not becoming real. So while there's a lot of great things will come out later, and we talk about them, sure, we make sure that whatever so far will be fully implemented, because we still got 90% of potential. And it's not because people are not trying hard. It's not because the technology is not sufficient, but simply it's to the previous point. You need to take the data, you need to clean the data. You need to have a proper architecture that is actually political decision within the organization, not IT decision. You need to retrain techies and not techies. So kind of all these things, it just probabilistically gives you 11%. I think this is one thing. Now, coming to generative AI, we all seen 4 basic use cases, be it summarizing, be it writing code, creating content, or changing the human interaction. But I think there is something more fundamental here that at least I personally haven't seen in the last 15 years. It's a rise of new generation of platforms. Because to Arkadi's point, we all remember 2007, first smartphone, social network, and cloud come into the game. And all of a sudden, we discovered the full new world of apps. Now, I'm not sure anybody in this room downloaded any app recently that you used for more than a few days, right? So we were kind of plateau. Now, what we are really seeing is if you take just Gen AI, add their Web 3.0, and add AR, VR, and the last two were extremely discredited for right or wrong reasons, but kind of these are the new platforms. And I think the real question is who will be the winner on the platforms, and what are going to be the new apps, right? But then I think also is remember we should be sticking to the basics, because irrespectively of technology, we all got very simple 36 human needs in love, affection, food, you name it, right? And what you see is then another race begin. How do you satisfy these needs with technology and economically viable mode? Hailing and taxi is the most simple example. You have a single button, you don't have few buttons. Now, what I'm seeing beneath the surface, it applies for other needs. How do you satisfy them in very personalized level with AI? So I think there is indeed plenty of opportunities, and we don't know how we need to play out. But if anything, it's not really about technology, it's about our creativity. And what I deeply convinced is it's really an age of creator, and the limitations is our ability to reimagine the world and reimagine the industry. And everything else we will see in the future. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And when you talk about new platforms, VR, AR, you're of course speaking about virtual reality, augmented reality. So very brief follow-up question. Would you see such a panel also taking place in a VR world in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, of course. I think because, again, we are human beings. Think about it. We were experimenting with it. It's very hard to program irony. How do you explain irony, humor? There are a lot of kind of very human things, right? We would love to meet. Formats might be different. AR, VR would be amazing for a rural school to bring the best teachers that you couldn't bring in. Mm-hmm. But still, I think I don't like the notion of artificial intelligence per se. Mm-hmm. I'm personally to hybrid intelligence. Mm-hmm. Bring in the best of human beings and machines. And I think that's what will be happening.
Thank you very much. Michelle Simmons, what needs to be done to ensure now that all these developments that we've been talking about, these potentials, that they're done in a responsible manner? Because I think that responsible AI is also something important for Microsoft.
Yeah, so as in the introduction you shared that I lead Central Europe and Central Asia, and the team I lead is responsible for working with customers, government and commercial customers across the region to really leverage technology to enable their digital transformation and to realize their growth potential. And certainly we see that artificial intelligence will be core to that. So I'll kind of take a little bit of a approach on what we're seeing from the market, and then more specifically about Microsoft's approach to AI. And as was kind of discussed, we do see that we're at an inflection point where artificial intelligence will change and maybe augment, to the previous speaker's comments on how we work and how we live. And it has incredible potential to support people, industry, and society to really empower us all. We know that customers are, perhaps they haven't seen all of the success, the 11% statistic was mentioned, but they are prioritizing AI, they're shifting their budgets, and they are more, from a PwC study recently, 52% of leaders were accelerating their AI strategies. And so it's certainly a priority for them. As the minister mentioned, data is required. And I think this is one of the challenges, is that if companies and organizations don't have their data estate and kind of organized, then they actually can't take advantage of all of the benefits of AI. And so over the next couple years, by 2026, there will be $300 billion spent on AI. That's per IDC. So it's a massive amount of money that is being directed towards AI by companies like Microsoft, Google, but also from private entities as well. And we certainly heard that yesterday in the Foreign Investors Council. It was amazing to hear oil and gas companies, consumer good companies, talking about not only digital transformation, but artificial intelligence. I was commenting that many of them could have been a tech company speaking, and that is the way of the future, because every company is a digital company or needs to be a digital company. Every government, a digital government, as is the bold ambition here in Kazakhstan being led by the minister. So, so there's incredible momentum in the market. We've, since 2017, been working across the company and across different teams to really take an approach of responsible AI, or what we've named responsible AI, which is all about making sure that artificial intelligence is inclusive, that it's fair, that it really approaches privacy and security in a thoughtful way. And we are taking such an approach where we are actually sharing publicly with customers, with governments, moving forward, how we are developing from an AI perspective so that others can learn how to also incorporate these tenets of responsible AI into how they operate. So that's important for us, is not only to be developing on AI, which we have been for decades, our research team, as well as, even from a cloud perspective, we've been developing around AI, but sharing that learning so that we can not only help others realize the potential of AI, but also incorporate this responsible construct. And we're also looking at, from a regulation perspective, it is important that we have regulation that needs to be interoperable and agile, just like AI needs to be. It has to be able to be updated quickly, but also across different countries as well, if we're to see the benefits that it can bring. Maybe I would, I can at a later time share and maybe build on the use cases where we have customers in production running artificial intelligence scenarios, whether that's Jabka in Poland with effortless shopping, where they don't even need to you don't have to engage with the clerk. They don't have clerks in some of their stores. Everything is autonomous. To even the Ministry of Education in the UAE is leveraging AI to facilitate education of their students. And where we hear a lot of the fear of AI, especially in education, I have my eldest daughter is in university in the US, and there's a lot of fear about cheating, and even in high school for my other daughters, around cheating or ownership of content that the students produce. What the UAE has done is they've said, no, we're going to embrace it, and we're actually going to see how it can help students who are struggling to learn faster and learn in a different way. And so they're seeing it, the flip side of the coin, and there's always two sides, but they are looking for that benefit to help in education in UAE. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'll just close on one last piece, which is around our studies on the future of work. We have looked across 31 countries, spoken to more than 31,000 individuals, and taken trillions of signals from our modern workplace, our M365 solutions, to really understand what's happening in the workplace. And what's interesting is that more people have a digital debt, you could say. I know I feel it. I'm sure everyone in this audience feels the amount of information that's put into either email, chats, the notifications that you get. It is very difficult to stay on top of all of the information coming at us. And so while there's a lot of concerns around AI and jobs, 70% of those surveyed said they would gladly allocate their work to AI to help them with that overload and to help them be more productive. So again, there's opportunities as well. The other thing about that is, as the minister was mentioning, education, is that leaders are saying we don't have the skills for the future, and this has been the case for a number of years. For my entire career at Microsoft, I've heard this discussion around how do we stay current with skills. But the skills needed from an AI perspective are very different. We need to be able to have critical thinking skills and creativity as well, which was also mentioned. So it's important that we think about how we continue to educate students, but also reskill ourselves to take advantage of the benefits of artificial intelligence.
Thank you very much, especially for pointing out the importance of education, the role it plays here, the different approaches different countries do take, and that it's not only one-dimensional, that we can identify both challenges and opportunities at the same time here. We would like to continue with our representatives from Google. Olga, everyone here uses probably Google every day. I certainly do. So in your role and in your perspective, what is the role that AI plays in the advancement of digital technologies in Google, in your work in particular? And probably also, I mean, Google has been developing, I think, its AI products already since 2017. What are the challenges that you have encountered here as well, and how did Google overcome those?
Thank you. Thank you, moderator, Your Excellency, dear co-panelists. We actually call ourselves at Google user-first company. So I will be switching to Russian. It's a conscious decision because I know that the audience does speak Russian, if you don't mind. Господа, я перехожу на...
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll switch to Russian. My name is Olga Skorohodova, and I thank the organizers for opportunity to speak about this important topic. In terms of digital transformation, we believe that the AI will play a leading role and an accelerating role. Let me just share one number that we've got in the company. That is $3.4 trillion US. That's our estimate of the potential of digital transformation in 16 developing markets. We call them the digital sprinters, and Kazakhstan definitely is part of these markets. Speaking about the AI technologies, let me say a few words about what AI means for Google. In addition to calling ourselves a user-first company, we're also calling ourselves the #1 company in terms of AI, although I understand that many companies may be calling themselves something like that, but we've been using AI in a variety of our products for a while. And I've been speaking for about a minute in the way of introduction, and I think in this 1 minute, thanks to AI technologies, our Gmail server has blocked about 10 million spam messages. So this is just a single example how we are using AI technologies at scale in our products. And indeed, many people, as well as Kazakhstani users, use these technologies. We also believe that AI technologies must solve critical issues for the society, essential issues. Let me give an example. As Mr. Minister has mentioned, AI needs to help us with forecasting. And in our company, we have developed a special tool that is called FloodHub. Its objective is to make forecasts of floods 7 days ahead of the flood. This is important because floods or other natural disasters cause a lot of damages for the economy. And being in Astana, for me, it is a great honor to announce that actually FloodHub has become available since the end of May for Kazakhstan as well. When the tool was launched initially, 6 months ago, we were only able to do the 2-day forecasts. Now we are focusing on 7-day forecasts of floods. That demonstrates progress and the speed of this change and our ability to improve forecasts thanks to AI. Second point, we've heard a lot already, and as our colleague to my left has mentioned, Alexandra, I think, mentioned the generative AI. And in May, we had our key conference of the year, which is called Google AI, where we discussed these technologies at length. And we talked about the new things that we will see in this area. And here in Astana, it's also my great honor to announce that our virtual chat, Bart, and I don't know whether you sent any queries to Bart when you were preparing for the session, dear moderator, but Bart is now available in Kazakhstan as well. And now, talking about the matters of which approach our company takes in developing AI and implementing AI in our products, I think that our approach is similar to what our Microsoft colleagues are doing. It's bold and responsible. That is our principle. So we are trying to be bold and responsible and creative at the same time. So what is the foundation for that when we are developing our products? So we basically try to follow the principles of ethical use of AI, which we have published in 2018, and we've been following them ever since. And the third thing that I wanted to mention is regulation. Our colleagues have already said that this is an important issue, and we share the opinion of many industry players, and I think that I will agree with Michelle that the potential of AI is great. I've already mentioned the numbers for potential digital transformation, and I think that this potential is so great that we cannot avoid regulation. But also, because the potential is so great, we need to ensure proper regulation. And the approach of Google is that we believe that the regulation should be balanced, it should be based on risk assessment, and it should be proportional. Again, based on the results of the risk assessment. Recently, about 10 days ago, we've published our approach or vision of the company to what the AI regulations should look like. This is a publicly available document. You can all read it. I'll just briefly mention 3 main areas of focus that we believe the government bodies, the regulators should take into account when they are trying to identify a responsible approach to regulation. The very first thing that we need to pay attention to, and our colleagues have already mentioned that is we need to focus on maximizing the economic potential of the AI through reskilling, through training the future human resources, through incentivizing competition in this area. And it's great to see that even among our speakers, we have several companies that compete in the area of AI. And I think that we also need to develop the kind of regulatory framework that will incentivize responsible innovations, as Michelle has pointed out already. Second thing that we need to focus on is preventing abuse of AI and also promoting responsible use of AI. I think it was already mentioned during one of the panel discussions yesterday that we should not allow the exacerbation of the current social issues through use of AI. Like the head of UNESCO mentioned yesterday, she mentioned a gender gap, and we need to prevent this. And in our company, we believe that to avoid this issue, we need to make sure that we engage a wide variety of stakeholders in the discussions. Expert community, academia, companies. We might need new fora for a discussion of these issues. Maybe companies could create a global virtual forum of AI. I think that there was a good example when there was a global internet forum organized to combat terrorism. And the third point that we believe is important when we're thinking about regulation is ensuring global security. Certainly, there are new challenges created by the AI, such as disinformation challenge, but it also creates new solutions that we could apply to combat these modern evils. And we could also come up with the new generation cybersecurity solutions. And in conclusion, I wanted to emphasize 2 points which were already mentioned by our speakers and by myself. We believe that we need to focus on maximizing a positive potential, economic potential of the AI on the one hand, but on the other hand, we believe that there is no single organization or a single company that could develop and fully implement a responsible approach to AI on its own. It's our shared task. It's shared by the governments, companies, civil society, so we need to work together in this direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Olga Skohorodova, especially also for pointing out the importance and potentials in flood prediction. I think against the background of increasing environmental challenges that we will certainly also have to endure in the next decades, this is certainly a very important part. Our last speaker for today, Mr. Dos. So I was very briefly introducing your company at the beginning. I hope I did that in a acceptable way. And hearing now from large players in the international field, from Google, from Microsoft, from McKinsey, from your minister, I would like to hear your remarks now on what your company is doing and the challenges, the obstacles that you're also facing as a young Kazakh startup company.
My name is Dos, and thank you for having me. So basically, let me briefly tell about our company. So we are Gold AI. We are building the large language model for building the AI digital twin, and we are facing a lot of engineering challenges right now because we have at the same time our research lab. Our research lab are doing our paper-based scientific researches about the large language model. And what we see that right now that AI feels sick. So in current state, it cannot be implemented in many, we could say that many state of the arts, right now that we have GPT-4 or BART, they also have the same problem that we see right now. It's like hallucinations. So the hallucinations is one of the top greatest problem right now for the large language model because it fakens lots of information and saying this kind of be true. So that is a public and scientific community around the large language model are facing off. And we see that our research lab has own theses how to solve it. And later this summer we will release our paper where we could defend and prove and justify how we can build better AI solutions for the future. That is what we are living right now. According why we are doing, because as previous speakers have said, the world has changed this 7 months before, but we as a company started to building it way before, and we did a lot of research and to see that is the exact timing. For you to understand, right now we are one of the top 10 AI apps in the App Store, and we see that the early adoption of the artificial intelligence by itself is tremendous. This is for you to understand. You cannot compare AI and software, and you cannot classify it in one a vertical because it's the different, and you can see that could be affect our life much faster, and by having the largest impact in the world that we have. So, and at the same time, it's the naively to believe that this would happen for a long time. It would happen in the next 6 months to 1 year. It would happen quickly because we see that the latest papers that are released by at the same time as OpenAI or Google Brain research. And this, what we see is that this is the like game of timing, game of high frequency. And if we want to see, like in, for instance, even like any country or any like a company, you have to be quick, you have to be fast. In order to be like in regulation part, whether it's going to be like a developing or like building the applications on top of large language models. For you to understand, like we see that why I'm pointing that we cannot compare AI and software, because large language model already right now nowadays are like they're replacing a lot of tools that we have right now already. For instance, popular things like if you want to build on top of like ETL or ELT processes on top of like a data warehouses or data lakes, many companies right now using the large language model to delegate that task to them. So that is like the day one like adaptations, and we see that lots of like risk and like clearance cases in banks already solving, and that is like early adoption at the enterprise level like LLM. And we see that large language models, it could be like in baby stage today, but after maybe the next 6 months is going to be maybe like something around like 12 or 15 years old boy. And that part of what we see right now, that company that will build their AI solutions on top like a human reinforcement learning, that was going to win that game. And that is like it's not like a game of the big companies like a FANG. So it's like just a good opportunity for any startups to build that solution, because we see globally right now, like in an open source community right now, more than 1,000 different small teams like we are just a team of 15 people, and they are doing the same, simultaneously the same job. And yeah, so, and we see like early like game changer cases, because there will be like lots of buzzwords about Web3, web blockchain, and so on, like in the previous like 5 years. And the people think like this is like AI, the same buzzword. Believe me, as a researcher, the team lead of the research team, it's not the same. It's kind of different game. It's kind of different time to adapt. And maybe that right now, for everyone, it's the time to learn the prompt engineering and how to communicate with the artificial intelligence to improve your life. And even like in a case of the education, it's not the same interface, the same like cases how we can educate our children, because our children that tomorrow would not require the same job like today. Because if you see like in US, we are probably like most of the time we're spending as a team in the US, and we see that right now, like if you go to see in the Glassdoor and see the job description, there are like 20 to 30% requirements is around the prompt engineering, how to implement the AI on top of your job. So that would be like a good sign for maybe the countries that's not in the like top tier or like frontier positions, to learn more and see like how the future could change around it. And that kind of cases, it's going to be super fast. And as a research AI team, right now we are saying we could solve that 3 problems that right now it's the hallucination, mode collapse, and the privacy cases. And we are more focusing on that. And yeah, maybe it's going to be like the next steps, how we can prove and justify our states. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspectives and also for giving recommendations to probably other startups in the region, certainly as being a pioneer in the local Kazakh setting, making it all the way to Silicon Valley. I think this is also a very important point of view for other startups in the region. We have about 15 minutes left, and I'd like to go with one more round of questions now, focusing probably a little bit more on the challenges, on the risks and threats that are associated with AI as well. And I'd like to ask all speakers for very short remarks to these questions, because then we can probably go and have one more round of statements from each speaker. I would like to start, Minister Musin, again with you. You were mentioning 82% of cashless payment. You were mentioning 400 databases being now joined into one. Where does data protection come in here? Where does the prevention of misuse of data and privacy protection play a role?
Thank you. It's really important to upgrade the data protection as well, because when this type of technology come, you need to upgrade the data protection and the information security stuff. In our case, for example, we did a lot. For example, in a public services with a collaboration with a fintech, with banks, and now I have I have a digital documents not only in my eGov mobile. I also they have access through the Kaspi, the Halik, it's the applications of banks, but I gave permission. Myself, I gave a permission to be there, the documents to be there. That's the first thing. And the second thing, it's about that if someone wants to, some banks or fintech platforms wants to get a data, we will send the push notification to the, eGov app to give a permission to, we are asking, we are trying to build such a model when we will ask each time a person, the permission to use their information to serve them. And in the past, it was, the paperwork when the banks, they did this tricky work to justify that, the banks having your personal data, and they are able to use it anytime. If you are dead, they are using your data. And if you have had a service in 20s, for example, 20 years old, and you are no more the customer of this bank, and after 20 years, they're always grabbing the data about you, and they're always using this data to, analyzing it. And what we are doing, we are trying to build such a model when each bank or each fintech company or e-commerce company, if they are, firstly, if person types that they giving a permission someone to enter his data, we will store it in the government database. The permissions, all the permissions that person gave to the different companies, we will try to store it. We designed this database. We'll store it in the database of permissions.
Yeah.
It's the first thing. Why we are doing it? Because if, for example, if someone will ask the government, I didn't give the permission to enter that data, but they have it.
Yeah.
And the judge will happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who will discover? And who will come with the expertise and say that if this permission is done properly or not, if it really happened or not. And this type of projects, we are providing the new type of models of when we want to be on frontier of public services, of public service as a public service online provider, but also thinking about the data protection. Yeah. And this kind of stuff, this kind of new ideas we come up with every day, and we are 31st place. We are, by the way, we are 28th by the UN ranking on the e-government readiness, but also in parallel, simultaneously, we are by another ranking of the UN on the cybersecurity. We are 31st. Okay. It's just like we're not driving the public services, but forgetting about the cybersecurity stuff.
Yeah.
Now it goes in parallel, and these two figures shows that we are doing well. We are moving in parallel these two aspects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michelle Simmons, a very brief question to you. as well. We heard a lot about regulations, about the fact that not one company or one institution can do it alone. So is there probably a need for an international code of conduct, how to be more responsible with AI? Very briefly.
So I mentioned before, and I refer back to our approach on responsible AI from a development perspective at Microsoft, and how we think about enabling others to develop AI responsibly as well, so incorporating some of the frameworks that we've shared. From a regulation perspective, we believe in self-regulation, but also we're working with government to design regulation that, again, can be both interoperable. I think that there's been lots of discussion around, and we've experienced in the past, what can be accomplished at global level versus local level. And so this is where the interoperability becomes very important, as well as making it agile and something that can be flexible as we progress, because the pace of change is rapid. And we know that we will need to be able to keep up with that as well. So any regulation that's put into place needs to be able to adapt to the rapid pace of changing technology.
Staying with the topic of regulation, Mr. Doss, I have one more question also for you. You have your governmental representative, the minister, sitting here next to you. Do you have any recommendations for the government, how regulations could also make your own company safer?
There may be the paper that we have for regulations. We maybe discussing privately. So the main idea that we have about the regulations, the first thing for the country, maybe it's to solve the problems with the privacy, because right now the large language model that practicing right now, so you know that 150 million users are early adopters or large language models right now. And what we see is that tremendous personal data are going to that large language models. And maybe from the countryside, first we have to find out the solution to distill the personal information and send to that large language model only in the keyword based, and all but retrieving the personal information and save it locally in the country. Then maybe that could be the top one priority. The second, of course, the problems of a differential privacy. It's the largest problem that we have to pay attention for. This is maybe about for instance, imagine that someone is chatting with this large language model. Imagine 20 of them are chatting, and imagine that the AI learns from the basic user behaviors from each of them, and you can identify by this user behavior, by chatting experience, who is who. So that could be the second largest problem that we are facing of. And there are tons of problems. Believe me, AI feels sick right now. Large language models, day one of the generative models. There are also problems with diffusions, the problems with large language models, the problems of the deep reinforcement learnings. But many engineering and scientific community as a team up. This is this is not the game of the one company. If one company brings that whole the problem by itself, it's a zero-sum game. This should be collectively bringing the human potential, because as a civilization, as a humankind, this is the largest challenge that we have. And we have to think about it, because many futurologists believe that 2029 is going to be our AGI age if the same pace is going on. So that's why maybe in 2023, right now, we have to do the job day to day, to do it properly, to do it ethically, to do it because we all seen the cases of the Hollywood movies, and that is maybe the scarifying people. But this is very small probability that could happen. But we know that if something is going to happen, it's going to happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for these important takeaways. I fully agree. I have one more question also for you, Mr. Dobkin. We have also seen the acceleration of AI in potential warfare scenarios with the company Palantir, for instance, just recently also publishing new advancements how AI is incorporated in warfare decisions. From your personal perspective, would you draw the line there?
I don't think it's my decision to draw the line and anybody in this room. I think there are some other people who draw the line, unfortunately. And at the same time, it's unfortunate that Palantir can test some theories in real time, in real life today. I think it's a lot of information, even on this panel, and we're all reading tons of information, and this is like so much. Just to express some like idea of responsible AI, this is the main idea which should be here. The question, the level of trust, and even when government regulate, trust to government to regulate it. This is, and then everything what was told here, you thinking about complexity of this, and if you think, forget about AI, just think about how we regulate the world right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And now AI on top of this. And usually bad guys using this first.
Mm.
And I think we will go through very difficult time before we'll start to understand what is and how to regulate, with all helps of great companies on this panel as well. It will be very challenging.
Trust is certainly the key, not
Trust
only
is very
when it comes to AI, but to many other fields as well. And probably there's also one important message for all of us, that we should also think about that and how to establish a better trusting relationship. Yeah. Olga, I have one final question also for you. One additional challenge that we often hear about associated with AI is also the emergence of deepfakes, of manipulated images, manipulated video and audio material. How does Google fight the emergence of deepfakes?
I'll probably answer in English, not
Okay.
to mess up, in Russian, not to mess up the translation.
So I'm going to respond in Russian. And now, as for Google's fight with disinformation, it actually started not even with the era of generating AI. We have been dealing with that for a while, for example, at the YouTube platform, and also using AI. We do it at a certain scale, at a scale of millions of videos that are deleted on a daily basis, those videos that we can identify as fake videos. And going back to disinformation, to generating AI, you mentioned, for example, photo and videos. Very soon in our service BART, it will be possible to generate images, but they will be marked as images that were generated. It will be clear that AI generated it. That's number one. Second, if we talk about texts, how can we secure, how do we make sure that our users are safe and that they are not subject to disinformation? This is also a matter of how you structure your product. And let me give you another example of our product called BART. When you talk to BART, you always have the opportunity to Google it. You can double check whether the information provided by BART's answer is reliable. And you can do it at the level of the product. You can just move on to the next window, just click, and then you will have a Google search results following your request. So I believe that these issues are important. We should be discussing them. We should be placing them first and foremost. The technologies of AI help in creating deepfakes, but they also help us combat deepfakes. So I believe that, just like always, we have to work in this direction. And just like one of the speakers at the plenary session said, we have to work.
Add more information on that. For you to understand, you do not like this. This should be no like scary that yeah. You have to know like there should be like you know, for you to understand, like if something generated by AI, it could detect it by AI. So anytime, anywhere. So
Problem and the solution is both
yeah,
in
it's a
AI.
counter AI. So a counter AI that identifies any text. We see that right now, like plagiarized checking, right? So it's the like day one of this software. The second thing is about like a video or like photos. If it's generated by diffusion model, it can be easily detected. So no worries that this should be that case. Maybe this is maybe the easy solvable question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alexander, very brief final question to you. Where do you see the challenges now hearing all the panels? You have the final word, so I know that's probably also the most important and most challenging job, but very briefly to sum up, what are your takeaways?
I'm not sure these are the more important because many important things were said, but my personal sense is that we are extremely overestimated the short-term risks, be it privacy, knowledge protection, cyber, kind of what happens. Now, frankly, if you look at technological solutions, many of these are solvable, kind of you go into the details. Where I'm personally concerned as a dad is for longer-term humanitarian or social implications of these things. And even if it's used with all good intentions, what would it do for human beings in terms of our ability to think critically, our ability to challenge information, our ability even to decide for ourselves what is good, what is bad, what is fashionable, what is not. So I think we as the society here, while I'm sure we'll figure out the technical side of things, I think should think exactly how do we use it for good with a lot of sense of optimism and responsibility. And start, first of all, with a very difficult problem for humanity, and that's why we also run Nobel AI and a lot of initiatives around it. But really step back and ask, we as human beings, whom we would like to be, especially the generation that was born with a smartphone.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
But like, couple words just to think about it. Like, we're talking about AI and how we're going to solve these problems, and we didn't solve even just internet problem, just search problem. Like, there is so much confusion, there is so much disinformation just there. When you think about it, that's exactly to your point. What is the future when these powerful tools and bad versus good?
Absolutely.
We cannot solve for 20 years. And you remember, like, still TV still working.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
Much more powerful than everything else.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid the time is up. I think that I dare to say, at least, that I speak for all of us if I say that the last 75 minutes have been very inspiring with a lot of food for thought that we probably have to digest. So thank you very much for joining online and in person. And thanks again to all our speakers, and in particular to the Minister and the Ministry for co-hosting. I hope that you have also inspiring further sessions. Thank you very much.